What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another WNBA video. We have ourselves a two-game slate to dive into for Tuesday, August 26th. So we're going to break down and analyze those games. I'm going to talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the points in the spread, and we'll also go over a couple player props that I found in those games that I like. And when it's all said and done, make sure you check down there into that pinned comment. You'll find a link down there that's going to send you over to the Guy Boston Sports website. That's where you're going to find all of my final plays for these games listed for free. Now, before we dive into those games, though, let's go ahead and jump over there to the website. We got to take a look back at Monday night. Let's see what we put in then and how that ended up going down. And on Monday, we keep it short and sweet, man. Just the one play on the night. The Sun and the Liberty, a total under 166.5. We do end up cashing out on that one. So 1-0 on Monday. We're going to look to roll that positive energy right into this video here, man, and have another good night tonight. But before we do, guys, before we dive into this two-game slate, man, the NFL season is right around the corner. And with that comes the Guy Boston Sports Survivor Pool, man. Now, if you guys are new to the channel and you did not get in on this last year, man, let me tell you a little bit about it. It's a $10 entry fee and you get up to 5 entries maximum. Now, how this works is week to week, you're going to pick whichever team that you think is going to win outright. We don't have to worry about spreads, points, none of that jazz. We just need them to win outright, right? So if you pick a team in week 1 and they do end up winning, you move on to week 2 and so on and so forth as these weeks go on, right? Now, the catch is whoever you pick week to week, you're not able to pick them in the next week. So say you pick the Steelers to win in week 1, which why would you do that? But if you do, and they do end up winning in week 1, then you will move on to week 2, but you would not be able to pick the Steelers for the rest of the year. So that's how that works, and that's how that gets, pretty interesting and pretty exciting as well. So yeah, guys, make sure you check that out. There's going to be a link down there in the description and also in the pinned comment. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into this two-game slate, guys. Smash that like button down there for me if you can. Hit subscribe if you have not already. Let's jump into the mix, man. 7 p.m. tip-off time for our first game. It's going to be the Seattle Storm. They're taking on the Indiana Fever. And the Storm, they opened up 1.5-point favorites on the road. It's up to 3.5 now in that total. It's moving as well, man. Opened up at 162.5. We see that sitting up at 166.5 now. The Storm, they're going to come into this one with some momentum on their side, while the Fever, they're looking to gain some, man. They've dropped 4 of their last 5, 6 of their last 8. The Storm, they've won 4 of their last 5, and they come into this one for the 4th game of a 5-game road trip that so far they've gone 3-0 on. But we do got to keep in mind who they played and how those games went, right? So far on this road trip, it was a close 6-point win over Chicago. Now, they did blow the brakes off of Dallas, sure, but then another narrow victory, a 2-point win in Washington over the Mystics. But then again, man, while the Fever's last 2 losses have come at the hands of the league best Minnesota Lynx back to back, they did drop back-to-back games at home to the Mystics and the Wings prior to that. Now, Indiana, they failed to cover in 5 in a row, 7 of their last 8. And man, they are just riddled with injuries, and those just keep stacking up even, right? We all know that Clark's been out with the groin injury. Now she has a bone bruise on her foot as well. And she's not coming back this year. Let's just keep it real, right? Now, Ari McDonald, Sid Colson, Sophie Cunningham, Chloe Bibby, they are all out here as well. McDonald, Colson, and Cunningham, they're out for the year. Indiana, they've managed well on the offensive end despite these injuries piling up. They're 5th for offensive rating in their last 5. The Storm, they're sitting at 6th. Then defensively, the Fever, they're down at 10th. Seattle, they're sitting up at 3rd. Now, staying in these last 5, looking at each of these teams, the Fever, they've been hitting from beyond the arc at the highest shooting percentage in the W, 42% from deep. Seattle, they're 5th for 3-point shooting percentage allowed, and they're giving up the fewest made 3-pointers per game at that. Indiana, they're giving up the 3rd highest shooting percentage from deep and the 2nd highest overall from the field. Now, the Storm, they prefer to play closer to the rim, 2nd for percentage of points scored from 2-point range, the 3rd from last for percentage of points scored from 3. They're coming in at 1st for points scored from the paint in those last 5. They're hitting from inside the restricted area at the 3rd highest shooting percentage, and they're making the 2nd most field goals from this zone as well. They're hitting the 4th most shots overall from just outside the restricted area, and the 4th highest shooting percentage from this zone also. The Fever, they're giving up the 2nd most made field goals from inside the restricted area, 5th highest shooting percentage from outside the restricted area, and they are allowing the 2nd most points from the paint. But they're tied with none other than Seattle in that regard, who has also struggled in defending from the paint. Indiana is hitting the 3rd most points from inside themselves. Now, an area of concern for Indiana outside of Seattle's perimeter defense is the Storm are forcing the 3rd most turnovers and scoring the 3rd most points off of those turnovers. The Fever, they are just 8th for points allowed off of turnovers, and they're giving up the ball at the 3rd highest rate. Indiana is coming in at 5th on the offensive glass and 3rd for second chance points, but Seattle is giving up the fewest offensive rebounds and the 3rd fewest second chance points. Indiana's allowing the fourth most points off the break. The Storm, they're scoring the most fast break points and by a long shot, man. 19.4 fast break points per game. Second place, LA is averaging just 13 per contest. Now, Seattle, they've also played better on the road than at home this year. They're 12-8 straight up and away, 11-9 to the number. Indiana, they're 10-9 both straight up and against the spread when playing at home. It's a double revenge spot for the Seattle Storm also, man. They've lost the first two head-to-heads this season with the Fever winning outright as dogs in each of those. So, man, give me the team playing better defense, better basketball overall, and not ravished by injuries, right? I'm going to lean with the Storm here in this one on the side. Now, for the total, if I'm looking towards Seattle here, it's because of their defense and how I think it'll slow this Indiana attack down. But, man, Seattle will play with pace, second in the W over their last five in that regard. We already talked about how they like to get out and transition. Indiana, they've hit to the over in four straight. The Storm have hit in three of their last four. So I'm going to lean towards the over here, but this may be one that's better just to isolate it, right? And look at the Storm and a team total over with them. I'm just not sure about Indiana in this one. If they're going to be able to generate enough points to push us up and over a total. So yeah, it might be maybe a Storm look, man. I definitely think that they can get theirs in this one. Then our second game on the evening, 10 p.m. tip-off time. Phoenix Mercury taking on the Los Angeles Sparks. Mercury are 4-point favorites in this one. Now, this total has moved a lot as well. It opened up at 171.5. It is all the way up to 177.5. That's going to be the third head-to-head between these two this year, with the Mercury taking the first two. There's a 3-point win in Phoenix back in late May, then a 5-point win in LA in early June. But the Sparks were a different team, man. They were without Rakia Jackson, Ray Burrell, and Cam Brink for each of those games. The Sparks, they're coming in with a two-game rest advantage here over the Mercury, and they also come in off of a win their last time out. It was a 1-point win with a KP buzzer-beating shot for the dub. Now, they've alternated wins with losses over their last six games. They've only covered in one of those games as well. After catching straight fire, man, these Sparks were just rolling. They have come back to earth some, right? They're sitting at 17-18 on the year. They're a game back from Indiana for that last playoff spot. And honestly, I do think that they catch them and they get that. They are the better team here, man, and they're also not ravished by injuries like we just talked about with the Fever. They're coming in fully healthy at this time of the year, which is really impressive in itself, right? They dealt with their injuries at the beginning of the season, and that's why they're in this position, trying to climb their circle, claw themselves back into the playoff hunt. And they're right there, like I said, right behind Indiana. The thing is, man, they got a ton of talent, and one of the best starting fives offensively across the W, right? But that defense has been horrid for much of the year, man. Second from last for defensive rating over the course of the season and over their last five games as well. Offensively, the Sparks are coming in a second in the last five, third overall in the year. The Mercury, they're fresh off of a win themselves. They've won three of their last four. At 22-14, they're sitting a half game up on New York for that fourth playoff seed, which is that last seed with home court advantage in the playoffs. Phoenix has been more of a middle of the pack over their last five, seventh for offensive rating, sixth for defensive rating. They're hitting the fourth most threes in their last five, but not really efficiently, man. Sitting down at ninth for 3-point shooting percentage. Sparks, meanwhile, they're knocking in the second most threes at the fourth highest shooting percentage, but Phoenix has definitely been better defensively here, man. They're allowing the second lowest 3-point shooting percentage across the W at just 26%, while the Sparks are giving up the highest, just under 46%. Now, interestingly enough, though, despite the defensive struggles, man, LA has been forcing the third most turnovers, while the Mercury are last in terms of forcing turnovers, and they're giving it up at the fourth highest rate themselves. The Mercury are allowing the third most points off of turnovers, while the Sparks are scoring the second most. And we also know that both these teams are going to want to get out on the break, run in transition, and push the pace. Phoenix is third for fast break points in their last five, LA second, but the Sparks are also second in terms of fast break points allowed, while the Mercury, on the other hand, are sitting at just eighth. LA is hitting the second most points from the paint as well, and they can beat you offensively on all three levels. We've talked about that a lot throughout the year. The Mercury, they come in at just seventh for points allowed from the paint. So with the rest advantage on their side, the Mercury coming into this one at 8-9-1 against the spread on the road. I want to look at the Sparks here, man, but I am a little leery there as well. LA as a home dog this year, they've gone just 2-5 to the number, but ultimately I like this spot better for them. So it's going to be a Sparks lean for me here on the side. And then for the total, we've talked about, the pace and the tempo that each of these teams are going to look to play with, and the defensive issues we'll see here, the offensive firepower that LA brings in. And honestly, Phoenix can get going offensively as well, with the Sparks giving up 93 points per game over their last five. 24 of the Sparks' 35 games this season have hit over, and even at this specific number, we've seen the Sparks hit over at a 70% rate in their last 10 games. So I would lean over here, man, but I'm not liking this the more that line goes up, man. You know what I mean? We're getting close to that 180 range. I don't know. We've seen these two land under this line here in each of the head-to-head meetings so far this year, and in 6 straight head-to-head matches as well. The Mercury have landed under this mark in 90% of their last 10 games, so I don't know, man. Even so, I can't trust the Sparks defense. Even if KP wants to make interesting comments post game about the defense, I don't really trust it still. No matter what she says, I don't think that they're going to play any defense. Now, I'm going to lean over here, but I'm probably just going to stay off of this one since we missed the best of the number here and didn't catch one of those 171s when this number came out. So probably stay away from it, but it would be a lean towards the over. I do got a couple player props that I found in this one that I like that we're going to jump over to Outlier for. But before we do that, speaking of player props, man, I did want to take a second to talk to you guys about Chalkboard because if you guys like player props and you haven't given Chalkboard a go yet, man, you're definitely missing out, right? Now, right now, they do have an incredible sign up offer for new users. If you sign up today, they're going to give you a free $20, no deposit necessary, right? That is a steal. Now, all you got to do is use the code GUYBOSTON to make sure that you trigger that bonus. Head over to that link in the description or it down there in the pinned comment. I'll have it in both. Download Chalkboard, sign up with code GUYBOSTON, claim your $20 today. And again, that link will be down in the description and the pinned comment. So let's go ahead and jump over to Outlier, guys. And first up, going to be looking at Rakia Jackson, her three-pointers over 1.5, sitting at minus 140 over there at DraftKings. She has been crushing this line, right? Now, on the season, 50%, 15 out of 30 games. But let's look at her in her last 5. It's a 100% hit rate, averaging 3 three-pointers made per game in that one, coming off of a 6 3-point just explosion over the Dallas Wings, right? She was on fire in that one. And you can push it back further and see, like, it's not like it's some kind of fluke. 8 games in a row, she has gone up and over this mark, right? We can scroll on down and see, man, in those last 10 games, shooting at 41% from deep. And you can see she's definitely getting the attempts right. No less than 5 attempts in her last 9 straight games, 7 attempts in the last 3, right? And 10 prior to that. So definitely like the shot attempts here. We definitely know that she's going to get her looks. Now, this Phoenix defense, we've talked about it, right? That they are holding opponents down to the second lowest three-point shooting percentage. But we can see here, as far as three-pointers made, they are sitting at a kind of middle of the pack, sitting at 6, right? So, yeah, it's going to be Rakia Jackson over 1.5 three-pointers made. I also like looking at Satu Sabally of the Mercury, looking at her rebounds under 6.5. This one's also kind of juice, right? Minus 145 over there at DraftKings. Now, if we look at her on the course of the season, hitting this at a 55% rate, 17 out of 31 games, you see a lot more red here at the beginning of the year, right? Look at her here recently, though. That's a lot of green on the board, 80% over the last 5 games, and you can just keep pushing it back, right, over the last 10, still hitting at an 80% rate. Even in the last 20, hitting at a 70% rate, 14 out of 20 games. We can see this insight from Outlier. She has failed to exceed this mark in 12 of her last 14 games. There's a whole lot of green down there, averaging just 4.5 rebounds per game. 2 rebounds less than what that number's sitting at, so we definitely like to see that. We can also see over here, the Sparks are sitting at third for rebounds allowed to that forward position specifically. So under 6.5 rebounds for Satu Sabally, sitting at minus 145 over there at DraftKings. And guys, that is going to wrap us up for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope you found the content helpful and useful. And if you did, please don't forget to smash that like button on your way out. Hit subscribe if you have not already. And that is going to do it, man. Hope you guys all cash out and have a great night. I'm going to see you back tomorrow for the next one.